service was derailed literally when a brand new diesel multiple unit crashed into a truck which had been parked right on the tracks. Accra to Nsawam line not operational. Accra to Tema line in urgent need of modernization. Takoradi to Takwa service suspended after derailment. Many others are still under construction. The managing director of the Ghana Railway Company, Dr. Michael Eje Anyete, admits the company is far from where it should be.
As I speak with you, Honorable, I know you may have heard for some time now, exactly 6 months, am I right? The railway worker has not received salary. And Honorable Minister, I am not going to blame this government. What we are seeing now is a cumulative effect. When I say cumulative effect, I know we will all understand. It didn't start from this government. But the good news is that there is hope.
But why has Ghana's railway story been on pause for so long? To find out, let's rewind.
Nananom, the reconstruction of this line, which forms an integral part of the Western Railway line, is therefore a signal of the beginning of a new era in rail transportation in Ghana.
In 2016, the government invested $165 million into a 15-kilometer suburban railway linking GHOne to Sekondi and Takoradi. It was supposed to be the first step in a grand plan to extend the line through Takwa and Manso all the way to the Takoradi port.
I work at a port. I live in GHOne. So the benefit that I'll have is very, very serious because I'll park my car over here and take this train to port and come back safely. It will make me to keep my petrol and some little money that I can have. I know Jamama is doing best for the Western region.
But after all the fanfare, the railway service has not taken off.
There are several things that went wrong in our country after we got independence. But one of the worst was the way we allowed our railway infrastructure to deteriorate. Other people have got first-class railway systems in the world. Ghana, we are going to have a first-class railway system.
The service began in 2017, but it was irregular and unreliable. By March 2020, trains were suspended. 7 months later, the trains resumed briefly. By 2024, the line was shut down again. Today, the GHOne station tells a different story. A student of UMAT, Michael Amponsa Safo, walks on the railway line almost every day.
My school is just along the rail, so I usually take this path here. And I've been schooling here for the past 2 years. These trains, they used to be stored at a warehouse very close to my school, my campus. And then at the beginning of this year, somewhere December, November, they brought the trains here. When it first came, I thought maybe they were doing renovations either at the place or there were faults with it. So they were bringing it here to fix it. This is a train station. I've been schooling for months and we have never seen any engineer coming to visit the train. We haven't seen anybody boarding it. We haven't seen anything being done about it. It's beginning to rust. When it first came, it looked very pristine. It was very, very nice.
Seeing the trains parked at the GHOne train station annoyed him so much that he posted his rant on X, hoping to get the attention of government.
It'd be bad. It'd be very, very bad. Oh, somebody should do something about this.
You don't really have enough good roads in the country. This could be another source of transport. I want the government to step in and do something about it. That's why I made the video in the first place. It's not anything political or maybe related to which government is in power, which one is out of power. It's just me, a concerned citizen, voicing out my opinion.
But what we see is an empty platform. Cobwebs clinging to corners. Weeds growing on roof. Well, I'm at the GHOne train station, and these trains bought at a very huge cost to the taxpayer now sit idle. Look at these trains, they look ready to move. But when you get very close, up close, you would see that rust is eating into the metal of the train. Each idle day turns these trains from assets to liabilities. This is Ghana's new reality, a modern fleet wasting away. And GHOne is not the worst. Exposed beams, roof ripped open, weeds swallowing the tracks. Even the station clock is frozen in time. I am very close to the secondary station, and I can tell you that currently the rail tracks are not for trains. Weeds have taken over. What was once a very strong symbol of pride has become a playground. The public relations officer of the Ghana Railway Development Authority, Sahadatu Al-Hassan, said she would not dwell on why the train service has not been running.
Takoradi GHOne was already in operations until some 1 or 2 reasons the trains were packed. And so that issue has to do with GRC or GRDA issues. And so I think the least said about it. That is what I said. The least said about it is, I think, from me, particular the better. The fueling itself, it's not an easy job. I don't want to be mentioning figures, but the truth of the matter is it involves a lot. As I said, its issue is something I cannot say much about. No matter how many times you bring it back, the least I will say is we are working on it. You will see GHOne run again. When I cannot say, but we are doing our best.
On 17 September 2025, at a government accountability series, the Minister for Transport, Joseph Bukari Nikpe, answered questions about the railway service in Takoradi.
When would the Takoradi and other towns have their rail line revamped or operational? I stated clearly that we inherited a situation where all the contractors that were on site had all abandoned site because of unpaid interim certificates that were provided or made. We have gone into discussions with them, and as I reported that Amandi has resumed work. It's left with the other contractors. The issues are time deals with a lot of variations when it comes to contract. And Attorney General's office is assisting us to understand the contractual agreements and the arrangements that were made.
You're watching News Tonight. Let's turn to some other top stories this evening. The New Patriotic Party, NPP, is demanding an immediate end to what it describes as politically motivated harassment, citing arrests, remands and investigations it believes are targeted at opposition figures. The party is also raising concerns over bail denials and alleged double standards in law enforcement against its members. At a press conference to announce a protest dubbed Yensuro Ahuna Ahuna, scheduled on Tuesday, September 23, 2025, NPP National Youth Organizer Salam Mustafa said the immediate trigger for the demonstration is the arrest and detention of the party's Bono Regional Chairman, Kwame Bafo Abronye DC, as well as what he called harassment of other party leaders, including Chairman Wuntumi and some social media activists linked to the party.
According to the national organizer of the New Patriotic Party, Salam Mustafa, is a direct response to what the NPP describes as selective justice and state-sponsored thuggery targeted at members of the NPP.
We have seen in the last period an evidenced pattern of gross abuse of power by the NDC government. Selective justice is taking center root in our society, and this is dangerous to the democratic ethos that we all believe in. That is why, as a party, our forefathers who started the fight against colonialism will not sit and watch this country thrown under the bus.
During a news conference, National Youth Organizer of the New Patriotic Party, Salam Mustafa, says the culture of silence is gradually creeping back.
The dreaded culture of silence that the antecedents of the NDC took us through in the dark days is beginning to be reintroduced in Ghana. Today, people are getting scared to free their minds, to go on social media to write, or on TikTok to have conversations.
The protest, dubbed Yensuru Ehunehuna protest, to wit, we don't fear intimidation or harassment, is slated to be held on Tuesday, 23rd of September 2025. For GHOne News, Obed Kingaglo, MPP Headquarters, Accra.
Well, let's stay on this a while longer. We're joined by Deputy National Youth Organizer of the MPP, Isaac J. Hyde, joins us via phone now for more on this. Good evening to you, Isaac. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, ahead of this planned protest, we know that the general theme, but specifically, can you elaborate on the specific demands that the MPP is making to the government and law enforcement agencies?
Thank you very much for having me. Especially this protest is calling for government to desist from intimidating the citizenry and the attempt to suppress individual freedoms of expression and the right to people, the right for people to, contribute their opinion about the performance of the government on social media and across various media platforms.
Right. Now can you provide some more detail, really, on these alleged cases of harassment that the party is citing?
Well, thank you once again. In recent times, you've noted across the media space how the police service, especially the government, aided by the various security agencies, have, forced their way into people's homes in a way of trying to clamp down on free speech. Now, an example is the Obama issue. A young man expresses concern about what appears to be the recent surge in firearms among civilians. And the next thing we saw was for the police to go and barge into his house and arrest him under the cover of darkness. What happened to invitation to the police service? What happened to the processes which have been used in previous governments? Again, we also saw the issue of GHOne. I mean, I agree. Some of these comments that we've seen on our media spaces may be a matter of concern. But I don't think that the right approach to dealing with some of these things is for the government to take it onto itself to be silencing critics. For us as a political party, we've analyzed a number of these incidences, and we've seen that the government is using the coercive powers of the state to silence critics. And we think that today it may be about the NPP. Tomorrow it will spread to the media. And then our individual freedoms, we cannot even sit in our homes in order to have a conversation. In time past, history has told us, even if we be young, the criminal libel law, by the likes of Nana Danko Akufo-Addo and the NPP of old, and war-meaning Ghanaians fought against a regime that sought to silence Ghanaians from expressing their views. Today we all enjoy from the toils of our forefathers. And we don't think that a Kinhaha sort of supreme leader is what we voted for when Ghanaians decided that they needed a reset of this country. We lost the elections and we are ready to contribute our quota to the development of this country. We would expect that the NDC will focus on delivering on this mandate. It promised that it was going to deliver to the Ghanaian people a reset agenda that will deliver a 24-hour economy. Today, the youth of this country are asking questions. What has happened to what you told that you were going to do? 1 job, 3 shifts, 3 people. Today, unemployment is still staggering. You told us that you were coming to fight Galamsey. It is even the most difficult and most painful aspect of this whole conversation when our president, Late Landing, sat on TV and told us that if Ghanaians are benefiting from Galamsey, it's better than select few hiding illegal
now,
mining.
Isaac, let's
What is destroying our environment It's destroying our environment.
Try and stay on topic.
Then,
I mean, you mentioned that the purpose for this protest is with regards to the harassment of members of the MPP. Now, how are you planning as a party to get your support base and Ghanaians in general to participate in this protest along with you and advocate for this cause?
Well, interestingly, Ghanaians have also, welcomed our call for this demonstration because they are not the only people affected. If you recall, the recent Ablikmanot by-elections, you saw how journalists were beating left, right, center. All these are concerns which civil society groups have also raised. We believe that this is the time for us to bring awareness to the issue. This is the time that we need to draw the attention of the diplomatic community, CSOs in the area of human rights, and of course the general Ghanaian public that we need to speak up. Because even in the recent interaction with the media, the president intimated that they were going to use IP address to be tracking people who express dissent about the government. How did we get here? This we are not going to accept. It is a freedom which is enshrined in the Constitution, and we will fight at any length to protect it. And that is why we need to get everybody, including yourself, to join us on the streets.
Now, Isaac, let's talk about issues of peace and ensuring that this protest achieves the intended goals that have been set out by the party. What measures are being put in place to ensure that?
For us, we are law-abiding citizens, and so we wrote to the police as the law demands, and we've had a number of meetings with them to plan our routes. We also have engaged our base. This is a peaceful protest that is seeking to call out, state authorities and the various institutions about how they are abusing the powers. Beyond that, we don't intend to do anything untoward. We believe that come what may, on Tuesday when we go through this process, everything will be peaceful.
Now, finally, in rounding up, how do you respond to some counterclaims as per the motivation behind the MPP carrying out this protest? How do you as a party respond to that? And what are the potential next steps for the party? Say that the response that you are hoping for from the government is not received.
Rome was not built in a day. We know that, the current president has told us that he's been a dead goat. And so, while we are hopeful, we know that it's possible that the president will refuse to listen. But then we are not ready to stop. We shall keep going until we get results. Because after all is said and done, we are fighting for the common Ghanaian. And so you can be rest assured that we shall keep at it until we get the results that we're seeking.
Very well. Isaac GHOne, National Youth Organizer of the MPP, thank you for joining us this evening. And we are looking to engage with the Deputy National Organizer of the NDC, that's Elikem Kotoko, who is going to be joining us shortly to respond to these claims made by the MPP, specifically, as you just heard, being spoken by the Deputy National Youth Organizer, specifically with regards to issues of harassment of members of the MPP, stating the fact that they intend on this protest being a peaceful protest, and he clearly also touched on some other issues that as a party they believe that they're intending on drawing the government's attention to. Now, he mentioned there as well that if the response is not particularly positive from the government, the MPP, the largest opposition party, is going to continue to raise these concerns. Now, we're still working the phone lines to reach the Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC, Elikem Kotoko, there, who will be joining us shortly. But to share with you some further information on this topic, the New Patriotic Party, MPP, is demanding an end to what it describes as politically motivated harassment, citing arrests, remands and investigations it believes are targeted at opposition figures. Now, Elikem Kotoko is on the phone lines now, Deputy National Organizer of the NDC. Elikem, I believe you're hearing me clearly.
Loud and clear. Good evening.
Great. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. I'm sure you heard my engagement with Isaac. What's your response to it as a party? How does the NDC respond to these claims being made by the MPP? And what it's suggesting are double standards when it comes to law enforcement in the country by the NDC.
In the first place, the MPP should bow their heads in shame. They failed to appropriately communicate with their followers and misled them into an embarrassing defeat. And so constantly they want to only lay credence to themselves by finding a way to rope in the NDC in everything. Mind you, since the NDC came into office, the NDC has not recruited anybody in the police service. So the same police that were there are the same people who are still there today. Don't forget that when we were complaining about some of these things in the opposition, they said we were just making noise. So what has changed? But it is also instructive to say that you in the media are also aware that when the verdict on the remand of Abronye, for instance, came out, those of us even in the NDC disagreed or had some reservations about the judgment, about the judge's decision, and all of that. Has anyone in the NPP manned up enough to even condemn the misconduct, reckless and irresponsible commentary by persons associated with the NPP, i.e. Chairman Wontumi, Chairman Abronye, how do you call them? Most of these people and the things they are doing. No. But they haven't realized that they can't find locals with their leadership. The leadership who has failed the people are pretending to now be in charge because there's a next election and they want to find an avenue to be important for their delegates to elect them. They should not use the NDC in the midst of this their mess. They should rather go for a reorganization to reconcile within themselves their rank and file so they can come back a better party than this disorganized one they have allowed their presidential candidate and the former president to destroy.
Now, Elikem, with that being said, do you feel, does the NDC somewhat, in spite of you having said this, does the NDC see any sort of legitimacy in these concerns that are being raised by the MPP? Or do you feel like it's clearly a distraction? Even outside of the MPP, Isaac briefly mentioned journalists, for instance, and some concerns raised there. Do you feel like there's absolutely no validity or justification to their claims?
I'm sure you are aware that when even there was any infractions with between the police and the journalists, those in the NDC and government also condemned those things. These were activities that were not in any way being condoned by the NDC. It is why I am reminding our listeners or our viewers as well that the MPP should be the last person to talk about these things. What happened to press freedom under the leadership of President Akufo-Addo and Alhaji Bawumia? What happened to the indices that were marking the performance of government of the then NPP? So they have no moral right at all to be wanting to talk about this. Don't forget also that President Mahama, who is just 8 months in office, is doing everything possible to make sure that all the arms of government are independently functioning without any interference from anybody. And so if they do not have anything significant to do as an opposition party that has become a dot in our political affairs, then they should just go back and reorganize and let the people who are following the MPP decide on new leadership that will give them new direction. The current crop they have are just a failure.
Now, Elikem, in spite of that, this protest is going to be held, as has been mentioned, clearly stated by the MPP. How does the NDC plan on engaging with the MPP at all? First of all, to ensure that it's done peacefully, to promote peaceful coexistence. I mean, you're talking about the largest opposition party. Is there going to be any form of engagement? And if so, what?
The largest opposition party is just a dot in parliament at the moment. So let us not make them look as though they have any significant impression on the people of Ghana. The way they manage this country is the reason Ghanaians have treated them the way they are today. They are free, and the freedom of association to demonstrate, amongst other things. So long as they follow the laid down procedures according to law, I'm not sure that anybody will impede that process. So I would only advise that they should follow due process, ensure that nobody is found culpable in the face of the law.
Very well. Thank you for your time this evening. Elikem Kotoko joining us there. Certainly, more on that subsequently right here on GHOne TV. You're watching News Tonight, streaming live all across the world on Facebook and X at GHOne TV. And we'll definitely bring you more on that planned protest by the MPP is set to be held on September 23, 2025. More on that subsequently right here on GHOne Television. Do stay with us. More news shortly. Parents that all school placement challenges will be resolved ahead of October 18. Out of the 603,328 students who sat for the exams, 590,309 qualified for placement into senior high schools, senior high technical schools, and technical and vocational institutions. According to the Ministry of Education, 483,800 candidates, representing 82%, have been automatically placed, while 107,509 candidates will have to use the self-placement portal. Speaking to journalists earlier today, Deputy Education Minister Dr. Clement Apak explained that the high demand for top-tier schools meant some candidates could not be matched with their preferred choices. He encouraged affected students to use the self-placement system, which is now active.
107,509 candidates, making up 18.2%, could not be matched with their initial choices due to the high demand for Category A schools. As a nation, we must acknowledge that while access to secondary education is expanding, the demand for certain top-tier schools remains higher than their available capacities. It is therefore important that we manage expectations and, more importantly, we work together to strengthen all schools. Every Ghanaian child deserves quality education, no matter where they are placed. To address this, the self-placement portal has been activated and is currently live. All qualified candidates who were not automatically placed are encouraged to log onto the system and to select from the schools with available vacancies.
Let's stay on this a while longer. We've been joined by Daniel Fenyi. He's the PRO for the Ghana Education Service. Good evening to you, and thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Well, first of all, to allay the concerns and fears of some parents and students, can you just run us through this self-placement exercise and provisions that have been made by the GES?
All right. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Let's establish that the self-placement is not a new concept. It has been part of the computer placement program for some time now. And the whole idea behind it is that there are times that learners are not able to get placement automatically from the system due to several factors, i.e., the schools they selected, the competitiveness of the programs they selected, residential status, the raw scores they obtained, the aggregate they obtained, and quite a number of factors. So they are not able to get all their schools. Meanwhile, there are some schools that have vacancies. And so the thinking is that if that's the case, why don't we compile all the schools that still have vacancies for students to be admitted, upload it into the system so that learners who are not able to get automatic placement could go onto the portal, look through all the available schools and select the ones that they are most comfortable with. In fact, as I talk to you currently, we have 71,921 students who have gone onto the self-placement portal and self-placed themselves. And once you self-place yourself, you are able to obtain instant admission into the school. And in fact, you can actually go back and change your self-placed school until you finally get enrolled in the school that you have self-placed. And so this arrangement is put in place so that learners do not get frustrated, especially those who are not able to get placement, do not get frustrated or do not feel left out in the whole program to get more students get access to education. Yes.
Right. Daniel, with that being said, is that to say that there shouldn't be any issues of, say, transparency and fairness in this placement exercise? And if there are, how are those to be dealt with?
In fact, we are trying as much as possible to ensure there's a high level of transparency in this process. Don't forget that this is education we are talking about, and we want every Ghanaian child to have access to quality education. So we do not want situations where there will be hindrances in the way of our learners. We do not. So from the angle of the Ghana Education Service and even the Ministry of Education, we are putting in place every strong measure to ensure that all our learners are able to have access to senior high school education without any hurdles on the way. So yes, there's a very strong level of transparency. Yes, there's a very strong level of merit in the whole placement exercise. Yes, there are, of course, we have recorded instances of some parents who are not so excited about the schools their awards have gotten. Right. We have recorded instances where students, one thing we have observed, gathering data from the parents. When they come around, we ask them questions, we monitor the patterns in their grievances, and we have noticed that for many of them, even though the wards together with the parents, chose 7 schools. Back in JHS3, they are asked to choose 7 schools, out of which they are placed in 1. So even though they chose 7, deep inside their hearts, all of them want only the first choice school. So they have given us 7, and they want only the first choice. However, the thinking of the computer placement is different. The thinking of the machine is that a child has chosen 7 schools. That means that these are the 7 schools that they prefer, right? And so we look at your raw scores. That is the primary consideration, your raw scores. And then we also look at your aggregate, the schools, and then all the factors put together. And then you are placed in one of them. When they get their 4th choice, when they get their 3rd choice, when they get their 5th choice, they are not excited. They are not happy. Meanwhile, these are schools which they themselves have selected and given to us to feed into the computer. And so these are some of the grievances we have noticed from engagement with the parents and the students themselves. And of course, for some of them, we are able to explain to them, and they get to understand that, yes, we actually chose this school, but just that we're not expecting to get our 4th or 5th choice. And they get to understand. Others too, of course, they are not able to understand, but we try as much as possible to continue to engage in them.
Well, thank you for providing us with updates there. As you said, the GS says that these issues will be resolved by or before October 18. You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. We bring you business news next.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
In business news this evening, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Ama Kofi Bua, has rejected calls for a shoot and kill strategy in the Galamsey fights, describing such measures as misguided and unsustainable. This comes as he launched the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program, aimed at transforming small-scale mining into a more sustainable and environmentally friendly venture.
The Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program will provide artisanal and small-scale miners with training and access to licensing opportunities. The goal is to help miners adopt environmentally friendly practices while protecting water bodies and natural resources.
Cooperative mining now,
the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Emmanuel Ama Kofi Bua, announced plans for a mobile mining licensing unit in Bibiani to streamline licensing and provide on-the-ground education to miners.
Go through licenses. They will apply Minerals Commission, EPA license. What grab OC or EPA you ube up and down with the last baby my name and background. Yeah, the mobile lines is very simple here.
The minister also rejected calls for a shoot and kill strategy in the Galamsey fights, describing such measures as misguided and unsustainable. Instead, he emphasized a more humane and conservative approach to resolving the menace. The program is expected to empower miners, safeguard the environment, and strengthen the government's long-term efforts to eradicate illegal mining in Ghana.
And that's all the business news we've got for you this evening. More on our website, starfm.com.gh. Sports news comes up shortly.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Wait a minute. This one too, your friend Kwame.
Wait, Kwame.
Many thanks for joining me here on Sports Brief. I am Monica Bukari. Now, let's begin with the CAF Champions League. And Public Relations Officer for BBN Gold Star Samuel Kwejui has disclosed that Coach Frimpong Manson and his backroom staff have put measures in place to fine-tune the squad and are ready to deliver as they face off with Algerian side JS Kabylie on Saturday at the Accra Sports Stadium. Samuel Kwejui spoke exclusively on the game.
League, and we had
compete very well because we have qualified to play the CAF Champions League. So we needed to start preparations early so that we can make sure that playing against GSK, even though we might know it will be very difficult, but with our preparation will help us go through the first leg easily so that everything will be fine for us. That notwithstanding, we did a lot of preparation and we started in Bibiani. We did 1 week and we were looking at us gathering there with our new signings. And we did that. From there, we came to Accra. We did 1 month, 2 weeks of intensive preparation before the GACA Top 4. All was boiled down to the preparation that we need to do before the CAF Champions League. Fortunately for us, we won the GACA Top 4, even though it was very challenging, very difficult. But then we needed to affirm to the doubting Thomases that when we won the league, they were saying that it wasn't based on our performance. But then you all have watched the top 4, and we won the top 4 based on our performance. After the top 4, we got to know, based on analysis, that there are other things that we need to do before we approach the CAF Champions League. So we went back to Bibiani to do a lot of corrections upon the mistakes that we saw in our team before the start of the Ghana Premier League.
Now, Samuel Kweji further underscored that winning against the two-time CAF Champions League winners, GSK, will motivate and inspire Bibiani Gold Stars in travelling to play the next fixture scheduled for the following week. The PRO highlighted some 3 indicators that leads them to victory.
Whether you play home or away first, definitely you have to play all the 2 leagues. Yes, we are playing the first league here in Ghana. All that we need is that we have to be meticulous. We need to get focused and make sure that we win the game. When you have the 3 points from here, then you are traveling with the 3 points. At least it gives you a motivation that when you're able to do well with the second league, definitely you qualify to the next stage. So still boils down to preparations. Gold Stars, we have arrived on 3 indicators that we work with. And these indicators help us to win the league. You could see that for the first time in a season, Gold Stars came to the top for 8 good times before we won the league. So at the point it was very, very tight. So we called our team, we told them that let's stick to our indicators. And we believe that those indicators will help us. It has to do with hard work, determination, and perseverance. And these 3 indicators are still what we are working towards to. We know playing against GSK with their experience is very difficult. But then we also need to up our game and make sure that playing with the North African side, that has been a challenge for us as Ghanaian teams. This narrative will be changed. But then in doing that, you have to do it with hard work, determination, and perseverance. And that's what we are going to do exactly tomorrow.
Now in athletics, Ghana's 4x100 relay team has been drawn in Heat 2 at the World Athletics Championship. The team will face on Saturday, race at 11:35 against some of the world's top sprinting athletes. Per the rules, the first 3 teams in each heat plus 2 fastest times across both heats will also holds the national record of 38.07 seconds set at the 2022 World Championships in Eugene. Both times are, however, slower than the marks posted by their rivals in the heat, making Saturday's contest a major test for the quartet. Team Ghana will be represented by Captain Joseph Paul Amwa, Benjamin Azamati, Ibrahim Fuseini, Barnabas Age, Mustafa Bokpin, and Abdul Rashid Saminu. A quartet from this team will be selected to compete on Saturday. And that's all for sports. My name is Monica Bukari, but do stay tuned. We have GHOne up next.
He has called on the governments of Nigeria and Ghana to do more in supporting the creative industry. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Joshua Kojo-Mensah, today he emphasized the need for an enabling environment for creatives to thrive.
It's still vibrant, and it could be more vibrant. It's just that we allow a lot of politics come into way. Yeah, when we leave politics alone to politicians and face the creatives and focus on it, I think we'll thrive better and try and see how we can introduce investments, create the investment platforms for people to come into the business and invest. And then in terms of advocacy, talking to government to create an enabling environment for the industry to thrive. You know, government has no business in entertainment. It's just create that platform, the enabling environment for things to happen. Most of those cameras, some of the production equipment are not produced yet. I brought them from outside. So let's talk about some kind of tax relief for bringing in all those things, encourage them. And why not, if you can ask most of those manufacturers to come and have a base, either in Accra or Lagos or Johannesburg, where we're still within the confines of Africa, we can just go in and get those things here. So it works.
And away from entertainment, and some more local stories, vandalism and theft at the newly constructed Obechebi Lamte interchange are putting lives at risk and threatening the integrity of the multi-million-dollar project. While engineers warn that the continuous theft of bolts, nuts and railings and other bridge components could lead to accidents and endanger both motorists and pedestrians, the Department of Urban Roads seems helpless.
At the heart of Accra, the Obechebi Lamte interchange, a critical project built to ease traffic congestion and improve safety, is now under siege. Engineers report that thieves are dismantling vital safety components at an alarming rate, posing a threat to both the structure and the lives of road users.
These members are to protect vehicles, that's those involving the crash barriers, and then workmen on the bridge, the hand railings and other things. Because once we remove them, then we endanger them, they can easily fall off the bridge.
Despite welding and reinforcing the fittings, the theft continues.
We on our part tried to avoid this stealing. So what we did was we tack welding where the bolts and nuts are. But I realized they were still able to break the tack welds that we've done and remove the members and steal them.
Engineers warn that if unchecked, the safety of the bridge itself could be compromised.
Because it's not only bridge components they are stealing. Manhole covers, everything is gone.
Many of the stolen parts, they believe, end up with scrap dealers.
So I think I'll have to task the National Security to look at the scrap dealers. Call a meeting of the scrap dealers and warn them against it. And once in a while, pay unannounced visits. So once they find any of these in their yard, then they hold them responsible.
For now, the future of the interchange and everyone who uses it hangs in the balance. Peter Kwawa Adatos reports on the Obechebi Lamte interchange for EIB Network.
On the international, two main candidates in Malawi's presidential election have declared victory, drawing rebukes from the Electoral Commission, which is yet to announce results. Tuesday's vote is expected to be a close race between President Lazarus Chakwera and challenger Peter Mutharika, the former president who was beaten by Chakwera in the last elections 5 years ago. And that is how we draw the curtains on News Tonight this evening. Many thanks to you for making the time. There's lots more news available on our website, starfm.com.gh. It was produced by Eko Boache, directed by Daniel Ryan. I'm Natalie Fort. Have a wonderful evening.